Joe, if you want to kind of take it away, and we'll go from there.
Thank you, Alex, and good morning, everyone. It's really nice to see you. I can see some people's faces, I can see some people's names. This is the second year that we've done this Mindfulness for SU Committees session. And when we did it last year, it was very different to this morning. So last year we did it in a room at Oxtalls, and I think we had nearly 50 people packed into the room. So people were sitting on tables and on the floor. The whole room was absolutely heaving. So certainly not socially distant at all. So this morning is going to be a little bit of a different session to that. Because of that, I'm kind of keen that you just see this as an introduction to mindfulness, because we're not going to be able to cover very much in this session, but I'll tell you towards the end what you might want to do to kind of take it further, either for you or for people in your committees. So, and at any point, if you've got any questions, probably the easiest thing to do is just type your questions into the chat function. I am doing this from my office at Park Campus, and for some reason I've got a bit of a delay on the line. So it could be that if you type something into the chat function and I don't see it straight away, I might not actually respond until after the session's over, but I'll definitely type you a response or send you links if you've got any questions. So please feel free to jump in. But unfortunately, just because we've got about 26, 27 of us currently in the Zoom room, it's not going to be such an interactive session as I usually like. So it's going to be quite a lot of me talking at you. So apologies for that from the start. Usually when I do mindfulness, I try and make it a lot more interactive, but this is a bit of a strange format that we're working in. So my name is Jo, as Alex said. I'm one of the chaplaincy team here at Park Campus, and you might not know what chaplains do. Most people don't know what chaplains do. Basically, one of my roles at the university is to oversee anything to do with faith or spirituality or well-being. And mindfulness certainly ticks two of those three boxes. So mindfulness is very much connected with well-being, but also has its roots in some spirituality as well. So mindfulness falls very much into my brief. I trained to be a mindfulness teacher about 4 or 5 years ago. And when I did the training, I came back to the university and I offered it quite widely to academics and to the student union, and kind of sat back expecting everyone to come and want me to do sessions for them. And for the first year, pretty much, I didn't get any requests at all. I had like 3 people turning up to my sessions. And then suddenly, mindfulness just became this buzz thing about 4 years ago. And I started to be invited to go and teach in, nursing sessions, education sessions, all kinds of things. So mindfulness has really taken off in the last 4 years. And I guess because there are so many of us in the room, I'm not going to be able to go around and ask you what your individual experience is. But I would have thought with this many of us together, there will be some of us who've got quite a lot of experience of mindfulness and some of us who've never really heard of it before you got Alex's email. So that's completely fine. So this is kind of mindfulness for starters. Hopefully by the end of this session, you'll at least have a little bit of an understanding of what mindfulness is about. I'm just going to keep on talking for another couple of minutes before we do a practice, because people are still coming into the room. So welcome to everyone who's just joined us. My name's Jo and I'm one of the chaplaincy team here, and I'm here to talk to you this morning about mindfulness. So I've been here at the university for 10 years. I'm wondering how you're feeling about coming back onto campus and returning to your courses. Certainly for me, I've been back on campus for a week and a half now. And it does feel quite a strange place, I must admit. It feels quite different. There are one-way systems all over the place. But I guess we will all learn together how to kind of navigate this new world that we're living in. So I'm just going to begin the session proper by not telling you anything about mindfulness to start off with, by just diving in and doing a really short little practice with you. So wherever you are joining us this morning, whether you're at home or your parents' home, whether you're in your student accommodation, what we're going to do is we're just going to dive into a little practice called the 3-step breathing space. So what I'd like you to do, you don't have to sit cross-legged or anything like that. So it's none of those stereotypes that you might have about what mindfulness might be about. But what you do need to do really for good mindfulness practice is just sit in a posture where you can be fairly upright. So I'm going to change my posture now while I'm thinking about it. So you need to be fairly upright on your chair or sitting on the floor, and kind of have as straight a spine as you're comfortable with. And then we're just going to begin by taking 2 or 3 slightly deeper breaths. So breathing in through the nose and out through your mouth. In through your nose and out through your mouth. In through your nose and out through your mouth. And then just allowing your breath to settle into its natural rhythm. And if you're comfortable for this practice, I'd encourage you to close your eyes. You don't need to be able to see me, you just need to be able to hear my voice. So if you're comfortable closing your eyes, then closing your eyes. So here we are in this strange Zoom environment together, doing this practice, which is called the 3-step breathing space. So step 1 of the breathing space, just becoming aware for yourself what thoughts there are milling around in your head at the moment. You might have all kinds of thoughts, maybe thoughts about this session and how crazy it is, or maybe thoughts about what happened to you earlier on today or what you're doing later on. So not judging your thoughts, just noticing what thoughts are around right now. And then moving your attention to your feelings, your emotions. How do you feel on this Wednesday morning? What's the kind of predominant, what's the strongest emotion that you can notice? And for each of us, it will be different things. For some of us, it will be maybe anxiety. For some of us, it will be happiness, anticipation, boredom, all kinds of different things. And again, just noticing without judging what you notice. And then checking in with your body. How is your body feeling right now? Are there any parts of your body that are feeling particularly relaxed? Maybe any parts of your body that might be feeling a little bit tense or tight or uncomfortable? Noticing how your body is right now. So that's step 1 of the breathing space. Step 2, the invitation is to move your attention very specifically onto your breath, noticing your breath as it moves in and out of your body. And noticing where it is in your body that you feel that movement of breath. So it could be in your nose, or in your chest, or in your belly. Seeing if you can count 5 in-breaths and out-breaths, and notice all the different physical sensations that you notice as you breathe in and out. And if your mind wanders off, that's fine. That's just what our minds do. As soon as you notice your mind's wandered off, just bringing it back to this focus on your breath. And finally, step 3 of the breathing space. Just imagining that the breath is spreading out through your body, spreading out down your limbs to your hands, down your legs to your feet, and filling your torso, and then right up into your head. And for some people, they like to imagine their breath is like light. So as you breathe in, it's almost like you're imagining that light spreading out through your body. And then carrying this sense of spaciousness, this kind of expansiveness into the next moments of our time together. And when you're ready, opening your eyes. And usually when I'm doing this with a live group of people, when I ask people to open their eyes, suddenly there's a little buzz around the room. People get a little bit giggly and they're like, oh, what did you notice? What did you notice? So because we're all doing this individually, just taking a moment now for yourself to notice how that little practice was for you. Anything that particularly stood out for you, anything that you might have struggled with, anything that grabbed your attention, really. Good. So that is a very little mindfulness practice. Like I say, it's called the 3-step breathing space. And I really like that practice because it's so short, you can fit it into less than 5 minutes. And it's such a good practice when you're feeling kind of a bit nervous about something or a bit under pressure, when it feels like, you know, you're breathing a bit more rapidly and your head's all over the place. You can just take a few moments to do that 3-step breathing space. And generally it has a really calming effect. So occasionally when I'm doing things at the university that I get nervous about, I'll take a few moments beforehand and just make myself do that 3-step breathing space because it makes me settle down. I'm just letting a few more people in as well. Welcome if you're just joining us. You're really welcome to be here. So that is a little introduction to mindfulness. What is mindfulness? So you'll probably see from what we've just done, mindfulness is basically a form of meditation. And it's a form of meditation that's been around in various kind of different guises for hundreds, if not thousands of years. But the really interesting thing that's happened in the last 20 or 30 years is that all this kind of wisdom from ancient meditation that's been around, as I say, for such a long time, that's kind of met together with some of the insights that have come from psychology and from neuroscience. And actually what researchers have found is that these meditation techniques that have been around for such a long time can have a really, really powerful impact on people's mental and physical health. And if you ever choose to do one of my longer courses with me, I will give you lots more information about that and tell you about all the research that's been conducted into the impact that mindfulness can have on people's mental and physical health. But some of the things that research has demonstrated pretty much without doubt is that regular mindfulness practice can have a very, very significant impact on our stress and anxiety levels. So I don't know about you, but I'm somebody who can get quite anxious about things and feel my shoulder muscles kind of going up by my neck, feeling myself quite stressed. mindfulness has been shown to be really effective as a kind of way of coping with stress and anxiety, and also is being really effective at being a treatment for depression, and particularly people who have recurring depressive episodes in their lives. Mindfulness can be a really effective intervention. So it's very good for stress, anxiety, and depression. It can also really help increase people's focus and concentration. So for all of you who are such hard-working students, if you do regular mindfulness practice, what research has indicated is that it actually can make studying a much more kind of fruitful process, because we learn to train our attention. That's basically what we're doing in mindfulness practice. We're training our attention, and that can be really, really useful, obviously, if you're a student. It's being used loads in schools now for that, partly for that reason, to help young people with their concentration, and also to help them with their mental health as well. So that's two things that mindfulness can be really effective with. The third thing is it can just boost our general resilience. And there's some really interesting research that's taking place right now into how regular meditation practice can improve our physical health, and also boost our immunity. So it's so interesting, isn't it, how we're so interconnected as human beings, that our mind and our body and our spirit kind of works as one unit. Of course it does. And so if we do things to help our mind, that has an impact on the rest of our being. So it can boost our resilience. And finally, and I guess this is how I generally use it at the university, if you practice mindfulness on a regular basis, you generally feel better about things. I mean, it certainly doesn't stop there being kind of pain or suffering in your life. But what I've been practicing meditation for a long, long time now, and I think what it's enabled me to do is to approach difficulties in my life in a much more positive way. So rather than feeling crushed by those difficulties as they come along, I just generally feel that I can approach them in a much more accepting way. And again, that's something that I talk about a lot more when I'm teaching my longer courses, which I'll tell you about at the end. So what I'm going to try and do now is just show you a funny little video, which I really like, one of my favorite mindfulness videos. So let me see if I can share this with you. So hopefully you're all seeing that.
You may have heard this word mindfulness. It's become something of a buzz phrase of late. I'm going to give you one simple, serviceable definition, which is this. Mindfulness is the ability to know what's happening in your head at any given moment without getting carried away by it. Imagine how useful this could be. Just as an example, driving down the road and somebody cuts you off in traffic. How do you normally react? I think most of us, we normally react by having a thought, which is, I'm pissed. And then what happens next? You immediately, habitually, reflexively inhabit that thought. You actually become pissed. There's no buffer between the stimulus and your reaction. With just a little bit of mindfulness, in that same situation, you might notice my chest is buzzing, my ears are turning red, I'm having a starburst of self-righteous thoughts, I'm getting angry. But you don't necessarily have to act on it and chase that person down the road, screaming at them with your kids in the back of the car thinking you've gone nuts. Now, you might be thinking, don't I need to get angry sometimes? Aren't I justified? I would say yes, but probably not as much as you think. The proposition here is not that you should be rendered by mindfulness into some lifeless, non-judgmental blob. The proposition is that you should learn how to respond wisely to things that happen to you, rather than just reacting blindly. And that, my friends, is a superpower. How do you get it? The way to get it is through meditation. I believe that meditation and mindfulness are the next big public health revolution. In the 1940s, if you told somebody you were going running, they would have said, who's chasing you? But then what happened next? The scientists swooped in, they showed that physical exercise is really good for you, and now all of us do it, and if we don't, we feel guilty about it. And that's where I think we're headed with mindfulness and meditation. It's going to join the pantheon of no-brainers like brushing your teeth, eating well, and taking the meds your doctor prescribed for you. Let me just close by saying, mindfulness is not going to solve all of your problems. It's not going to render your life a nonstop parade of unicorns and rainbows. Nonetheless, this is a superpower, and one that is accessible by you immediately.
Good. So I really like that. I really like that little video there. And what I particularly like about it is, for you guys, I think quite a lot of you are probably in sports societies. Just that sense of what he was saying, you know, years ago, the idea of going running on a regular basis would have just been really bizarre to people, that actually people wouldn't have thought of doing that at all as being a good thing for their health unless they were an athlete. Whereas now most of us would do some kind of form of regular physical exercise, whether it's running or cycling or whatever it is. And if we don't do it, we feel guilty about it. And so it's really interesting that we've made that adjustment for our physical health. We know it's really important to invest time in going to the gym or going for a run or whatever we do for our physical exercise. We know it's really important to invest that time because it's good for our physical health. But actually we invest much less in our mental and our psychological health. So I think maybe in 20 or 30 years, because we've seen this kind of sweep of mental health problems growing and growing and growing, and certainly we see that here at the university, people will be much more used to taking regular interventions to support their mental health than they are at the moment. And I think this interest in mindfulness, which, as I say, has really grown in the last kind of 4 or 5 years, in 10, 15, 20 years, there'll be all kinds of things like mindfulness, which will be there to support people in maintaining good mental health. So I think for you guys as committee members on sports teams and other societies, you're in a really key position, because actually you're going to be working with students, and probably already have done so, who have a whole variety of issues going on in their lives. And some of those will be quite serious and pressing issues around their mental health, maybe around depression or anxiety, or certainly in terms of kind of general stress levels. And one of the things that you will do as committees is that you'll kind of support them a little bit in that, and maybe make some suggestions to them, maybe pointing out, you know, all the amazing support that we've got here at the university in terms of our mental health team, in terms of our counsellors and the other student support that's available. But maybe one of those things that you'd like to point out to them is that we offer regular mindfulness sessions across the year, and they can be a really good thing to help people with, you know, maintaining good mental health. And I guess, you know, particularly at the time that we're finding ourselves in now, I was saying to the people who were here at the beginning of this Zoom call that actually I'm back on campus now, and the university feels quite a different place to the one that we all left back in kind of February, March time. So for one thing, there are kind of green stickers on virtually every surface telling you what you can and can't do. And there are one-way systems all around the place. And all of this is fantastic because it's here to keep us safe, obviously. But I think for some of the students that we know and that we're working with in our different groups and societies, some of this will make the place feel a little bit more intimidating, a little bit more threatening. So I think this year in particular, in the midst of this pandemic that we're finding ourselves in, anything that each of us can do to support our own mental health will be really, really good. So we will do another practice together now, and then I've got another little video to show you before we finish. So again, if you weren't with us at the beginning, then all you need to do is find yourself a comfortable position to sit in. But what I would recommend is that you sit as upright as possible. So if you're sitting on a chair, then kind of pushing your bum back to the back of the chair so you're sitting nice and straight. Or if you're sitting on the floor or on a bed, just making sure again that you're sitting nice and upright if you can. I'm just going to have a bit of a drink of water because my voice is getting a little bit croaky. Okay. Oh, there you all are. How lovely. So, just beginning, as we did in the first practice, by taking 2 or 3 slightly deeper in-breaths and out-breaths. And what we generally recommend is that you breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth, just for these first 2 or 3 in-breaths and out-breaths. And because you're probably on your own in your room doing this, try and make your out-breath as noisy as you can. So really hear your out-breath as you're kind of expelling that air from your body. So breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. In through your nose and out through your mouth. In through your nose and out through your mouth. And then allowing your eyes to close and just settling your breath back into its natural rhythm. You don't need to worry about your breathing. You're very good at breathing. So you breathe on average about 60,000 times a day. So your body is very good at breathing. So just allowing your breath to settle back into its natural rhythm. And beginning this practice by taking your attention down into your feet. And instead of thinking about your feet, thinking about what your feet look like or what socks you're wearing today, I invite you to kind of experience your feet, if you like, from the inside. So just notice any sensations that there are in your feet and your toes right now. So you may notice the contact of your feet with the floor or with whatever you're sitting on. And just noticing what that contact feels like. What does it feel like, that pressure, where you're feeling that contact between your foot and the outside surface? And noticing if your feet are warm or cold. Maybe noticing if there's any buzzing sensations or tingling sensations in your feet. And seeing if you can really focus your attention right into your big toes. Just noticing any sensations that there are in your big toes. Now, these all might be strange things. It might seem bizarre what I'm asking you to do. But what we're doing in these kind of focused practices of attention is that we are training our attention, almost as if we're going to the gym and training our physical muscles. We're training the muscle of attention in our minds. So now moving that attention, moving it up the body towards your seat area, your bottom and your thighs and your lower back and your hips. And again, just noticing any sensations that there are which stand out for you in this particular part of your body. So noticing the contact with the chair or the bed or the floor, whatever you're sitting on. Where is it that you feel that contact? Feeling the weight of yourself as you kind of push down as gravity pushes you down into your seat, feeling the heaviness of yourself. And you'll notice as we're doing this practice that your attention wanders off from time to time. And that's nothing to worry about. That's what our brains do all the time. They wander about, almost like monkeys jumping from branch to branch in a tree. So all you have to do when you're doing a mindfulness practice, when you notice that your mind's wandered, you don't kind of tell yourself off for it. You just kind of scoop your mind up again and bring it back to whatever we're focusing on. So focusing on that area around your seat and all the sensations that there are there. So now moving the attention again, and this time taking it right down into your hands and your fingers. And you might notice as we do this that you find it much more easy to concentrate because there are lots of sensations in your hands and your fingers, this very sensitive part of our bodies. So what do you notice here right now? So noticing again the temperature of your hands, the contact of your hands with your legs or wherever your hands are resting. Any buzzing or tingling sensations. And if you focus your attention really, really tightly, really specifically, you might even be able to feel the slight pulsing of the blood in your fingertips. Just feeling that pulse. And finally, moving your attention once more, this time allowing your attention to rest on your breath again. And just noticing where you feel your breath most clearly moving in and out of your body. So it could be in your nostrils, or in the back of your throat, or in your chest, or in your belly. And just focusing on the rise and fall of your in-breath and your out-breath. And you may notice as you do that, that your breath just starts to slow down a little and become a little bit deeper, just as you're focusing on that rise and fall of the breath. You start to breathe a little bit more deeply. And if it's helpful for you, just counting your breath in and out. If that helps you focus, just using counting as a focusing tool. And now becoming aware of the whole of your body as you sit here. Just noticing that rise and fall of the breath, and also just any areas of tightness or tension in your body. And almost seeing as if you can direct your breath into any of those areas of tightness or tension. So if you're like me, you might carry some of your tension in your shoulders, just playing around for a few moments and seeing if you can imagine that breath kind of moving into your shoulder area and just softening some of that tension as you breathe in and out. And then allowing yourself to widen your attention still further and just taking in any sounds that there are around you, inside your room or outside your room. And when you're ready, just gently opening your eyes. So that was a slightly longer practice. That was about, I don't know, 8 or 10 minutes we did that for. And again, if we were doing this in a live session, I'd just kind of go around and ask you how you found that and anything that you particularly noticed. But we can't do that in this setting, but just noticing for yourself how that kind of 8 or 10 minutes of space and silence, how that felt for you. And one of the things that people notice when they first start practicing mindfulness is how noisy our heads are. So I said to you a couple of times during that practice, you might notice that your attention's kind of wandered off somewhere. And when people first do mindfulness, people kind of think that, oh my goodness, my attention's wandered. That's a mistake. I mustn't let it do that. Actually, that's what our brains do all the time. Our brains are designed to generate thoughts, and they do that very effectively. We're very creative human beings. But what happens when we're under stress in particular is that some of those thoughts that our brains create can either be quite negative or quite kind of punishing of ourselves, or else they can just get faster and faster and faster, and we can almost feel like we've got a washing machine of thoughts inside our head. So all we're doing in mindfulness practice, in meditation practice, is we're not trying to stop those thoughts, but we're just trying to get a little bit more control over what happens within our thought processes. So rather than us feeling that we're at the mercy of our thought processes, it's almost like we start to take back a little bit more of control, and we start to choose what to focus our attention on. Now that sounds much easier said than done, and I have a very noisy head, and so sometimes it's very difficult to kind of focus the attention. But as I said earlier, it's exactly like going to the gym. So when you first start going to the gym and you're exercising a particular part of your body, when you first start doing those kind of bicep curls or whatever it is you're doing, it feels like it's incredibly hard work, and you think, oh my goodness, I'm so flabby and unfit and I'm never going to get there. But actually all you need to do is keep on practicing, and then actually those muscles start to develop. It's absolutely exactly the same with meditation and mindfulness. All we're doing is developing this muscle of attention so that we have a little bit more choice about what happens inside our heads and where to place our attention. So I hope you enjoyed that little practice. When I teach mindfulness, we do all kinds of different practices. So some of them are focusing on our body, some of them are focusing on our breath, some of them are using our imagination to kind of go into, imagine we're sitting by the sea, or all kinds of different things. So we do a whole variety of different practices in mindfulness. So we're coming to the end of our time together. I just wanted to show you this other little video before we finish, if I can find it. And this is a video particularly about students using mindfulness. I thought this might be helpful for you to watch. They're students in America, but there are lots of students who use it in this country as well. And they're just talking about some of the benefits that they found through mindfulness practice.
Before I tried mindfulness, I felt threatened all the time.
Really disillusioned with life.
Confused.
Tired. Stressed. Frustrated.
Scattered all over the place.
Overwhelmed. Anxiety over the future. Worried. It was kind of taking over my life. I tried mindfulness because I felt stressed out. I was very concerned with the future and what my day was going to look like tomorrow and everything that was happening.
My life was always about what happened in the past and what's going to happen in the future. So by doing mindfulness, I live much more in the now. It is just a different approach to life.
We all experience difficult challenges in our life, like stress, pain, and depression. Mindfulness can give us resilience to rise above those challenges and live life more fully. Mindfulness is a particular type of meditation where we bring our awareness to the present moment. We can let go of the past, let go of the future, live life more fully, more joyfully.
We all are too busy. I think it's a thing that everybody's just so busy all the time right now.
You always have something that you have to do, or you're always going towards a certain goal. And mindfulness is just taking a moment to look at your life without any expectations.
Take time for yourself rather than getting carried off in all the daily activities that you have.
Mindfulness can be practiced by anyone, no matter what your religion, your age, or your background. We don't have to wait until we have time to do like a formal sitting meditation to practice mindfulness. We can bring that same mindful awareness to any activity that we're doing through our daily lives. So walking can be a meditation. Eating our lunch, brushing our teeth, being creative, painting, writing, or playing music can get us deeply in touch with the present moment. Mindfulness is available anytime, anywhere.
It's a tool and skill that you can use for the rest of your life, and it's easy through simple daily or not daily exercises.
It just keeps us all just calm and present, and I think that that's healthy for anybody.
It can be beneficial for everyone, and you just have to go in with an open mind and take everything slowly instead of trying to get through like quickly and do as much as I can, as fast as I can do it. Instead, just enjoy everything you do and maybe look at life from a more positive perspective.
So I really invite you all to try it, to experience it, and to see for yourself how mindfulness might be able to affect and transform your own life.
Okay, so some really interesting things that they picked up in that video. And one of the things I think that's really key, we're talking about the noise inside our heads that there is all the time. Actually, what psychologists have found is that particularly when we're feeling anxious, we seesaw between focusing on events that have happened in the past and really kind of focusing on some of the negative events that have happened in the past, or anticipating events that might happen in the future. And again, if we're feeling stressed, we tend to worry about some of those kind of, oh my goodness, what could happen to me in that situation? So we're flip-flopping between the past and the future all the time. And as they were suggesting in that little video, actually what we're doing in mindfulness is that we're just returning our attention back to the here and now, back to the present moment. And that can be incredibly liberating, because just for a moment we can let go of that stuff that we've been carrying from the past and that stuff that we're worrying about in the future, and we can just focus on the here and now. And this is my best illustration for this. I don't know whether you can see this. So this sits on my desk here at Park Campus, and it's a snow globe. So you may have had one of these when you were a kid, and this is a really great illustration of how mindfulness is. So when we're feeling stressed, the inside of our head can feel like this kind of snowstorm going on inside our head. And the more anxious we get, the more those thoughts start to twirl round and round and round. And all mindfulness practice does, it doesn't take away those stresses, but it just allows us to develop a different perspective on them. So as the snow is just starting to slowly sink to the base of the snow globe, mindfulness practice just enables us to start to let some of that swirl of thoughts and emotions just settle down for a bit. And then we can, like the little yellow dog in my snow globe, I don't know whether you can see him, we can start to see things a little bit more clearly without this swirl of thoughts and emotions kind of washing, machining around us. So he sits here on my desk to remind me to practice what I preach. So we are nearly done, and thank you so much for joining me this morning. It's been a real pleasure to have you. Just two things that you might want to try either today or sometime this week. So the practices that we've been doing together this morning have been formal breathing meditations. So, you know, it's been me sitting here kind of telling you how to breathe or whatever. So they're called formal mindfulness practices. But alongside those are a whole load of informal practices, kind of everyday mindfulness. And my two favorites are, one, when you buy yourself a really expensive cup of coffee or cup of tea, either from the refectory here on campus or from Costa or wherever you get it from, instead of drinking your cup of coffee or cup of tea and looking at your phone at the same time, try and drink your cup of coffee or your cup of tea or your pint of beer or whatever. Try and drink it with your full attention. You've paid a lot of money for it, so try and drink it with your full attention and see what you notice. So that's one form of everyday mindfulness. The other thing is called the practice of gratitude. So if you remember at the end of today, when you're kind of looking back over your day and you think, oh yeah, I did that kind of bizarre mindfulness session earlier on today. When you think that, see if you can make yourself look back over your day and find one thing today that you're particularly thankful for. Just one thing that stands out in your day that you feel particularly grateful for today. And I guarantee you that there will be something. Even if you're having a completely shit day, there will be something in your day that you can feel thankful for or grateful for. So try those and see how you get on. So like I say, get in touch with me if you would like to find out more. Usually I teach mindfulness kind of in a live session, but at the moment, everything that I'm offering is probably going to be online. So from the beginning of October, I'm going to be doing something called Monday Midday Mindfulness. So every Monday lunchtime on our chaplaincy Facebook page, I'm going to be live streaming a half an hour mindfulness session, Monday Midday Mindfulness. So you'd be really welcome just to drop in and out of that whenever you want to. But if you want to know more about the kind of the formal courses that I teach, which are usually about 4 weeks long, then get in touch with Alex. That's probably the easiest, and he can give you my email address here at the university, and then I can tell you how to take part in those. So thank you everybody for joining me. Thank you Alex for giving me this opportunity, and I hope that your coming back to university is as smooth as it can possibly be. Take care. Over to you.
Thank you, Jo. Really great. I was listening in the background and I was off on somewhere else, but probably then I was supposed to be concentrating on what I was doing. But it was great, and I'm sure everyone has learned a lot, especially things that they can practice. Being a member of a committee can kind of fill your head, like you said, as a snow globe, you fill your head with a bit of everything, and you have a lot of things going on all at the same time, especially now with all the additional rules, regulations, restrictions that we have to apply to. So thank you again for teaching that little bit of an introduction. And if any of the clubs or societies want to, like you said, get in touch, drop me an email and we will organize something so that they can get involved with more mindfulness, which you can never have too much of. That's what I always say. So just quickly, with the rest of everyone else, we have obviously community trainings continuing throughout the day. You've got finance and fundraising with me at 1 o'clock if you want to join in with that. Again, it'll be recorded. Again, it'll be recorded for you to watch back at a later date, but it's always good to have you there in case you have any questions, which I can then answer like in the moment. But that's pretty much it. So hopefully see some of you at 1 o'clock. Thank you again, Jo, for delivering that session. And that's kind of the end of the show. Like I said, it'll be recorded and this will be uploaded, hopefully on the Students Union website or maybe on our YouTube channel, depending on how we can get it somewhere for you to watch back on. But thank you again for everyone to join in. Thank you, Jo. See you all in the next one. Bye, everyone.